Now if we see the thoracic cage, how it is formed. So this is the thoracic cage. Now this cage is formed anteriorly by the sternum and costal cartilages, then posteriorly by the 12 thoracic vertebrae with their intervertebral discs, and laterally by the ribs. Now this thoracic cage anteriorly, this is the costal margin. Now this costal margin is formed by the union of upturned edges of the 10th, 9th, 8th and 7th costal cartilages. So the costal margin is formed by seventh to 10th costal cartilages. Kunaga disuruh Benar board yang saya So this is the costal margin. So this costal margin is formed by the upturned edges of 10th, 9th, 8th and 7th costal cartilages by the union of these costal cartilages. Now this thoracic cage is formed anteriorly by the sternum, costal cartilages, posteriorly by 12 thoracic vertebrae with intervertebral discs and laterally by the shafts of the ribs. Now this thoracic cage has its upper opening, that is the superior thoracic aperture or thoracic inlet, and here at the lower quarter of this thorax there is one aperture is there, which is called as inferior thoracic aperture or thoracic outlet is there. Now if we see the superior thoracic aperture or thoracic inlet, it is oblique, and this superior thoracic aperture is formed by this upper border of this manubrium sternum. Again posteriorly it is formed by the upper border of first thoracic vertebra, and on either side it is formed by the first costal cartilage and the first ribs. Now this is small and oblique as compared to the inferior thoracic aperture. Now through this superior thoracic aperture or thoracic inlet, it connects or there is a contact in between this thoracic cavity and the neck. So the structures from and to the neck, they enters through this aperture. Now it measures about 6 centimeters antero-posteriorly and 12 centimeters. There is a transverse diameter of this. Now which structures they enter or lead through this superior thoracic aperture? So these are in the medial plane. These are the trachea, esophagus. Then on either side there are apices of the lungs with cervical pleura. If we see at the neck of this first rib, there are structures from medial to lateral. These are the sympathetic chain, then posterior intercostal vein, superior intercostal artery, and first thoracic nerve. Along with esophagus, there is entrance of left recurrent laryngeal nerve. Isn't it? So again, which structures they enter or leave through this aperture? At the right side, there is a brachiocephalic artery, and in the neck it divides into right subclavian and right common carotid. On the left side, there is left common carotid artery and left subclavian artery. Now this superior thoracic aperture is closed by Simpson's fascia or suprapleural membrane. Now attachments, I have already told you at the transverse process of 7 cervical vertebra posteriorly and anteriorly, there is attachment to this inner border of the first rib. So this aperture is closed by the suprapleural membrane. Now if we see this thoracic outlet, now this outlet is closed by thoraco-abdominal diaphragm. Now this aperture is formed by posteriorly by the 12th thoracic vertebra, anteriorly by xiphisternal joint, and laterally by the lower 6 costal cartilages, and it's closed by this thoraco-abdominal diaphragm. Now again, through this aperture, some structures either they leave or enter in the thoracic cavity. So there are some major openings in the diaphragm. There are 3 major openings in the diaphragm. First is the vena cava opening. Second, first is vena cava opening. Second, esophageal opening. And third is the aortic opening. Now this vena cava opening is present in the central tendon of the diaphragm at the vertebral level T8. Esophageal opening is present at the level T10, and the aortic opening is present at the level of 12th thoracic vertebra. So how to remember these major openings? 8, 10 and 12. 10 is O for 10. Esophageal is 10. First is in the central tendon there is a vena cava opening, and aortic opening is present posteriorly at this 12th thoracic vertebra. Besides these major openings, there are some minor openings are also present in the diaphragm. So these are minor openings for greater and lesser splanchnic nerves, subcostal vessels and nerves, superior epigastric vessels, etc. So besides these major openings, there are some minor openings are also present in the diaphragm for greater and lesser splanchnic nerves, subcostal vessels and nerve, then superior epigastric vessels. So these are about this superior thoracic aperture and inferior thoracic aperture. So this inferior thoracic aperture is closed by diaphragm so that it makes it separate from the abdominal cavity. If we see this thoracic cavity, so thoracic cavity it is, or thoracic cage, it is like a truncated cone. So it is narrow above and wide below, isn't it? sexual differences are also present in case of this thoracic cage. If we consider or we see this thoracic cage in females, so what are the differences in this female thoracic cage? The bones are lighter and the thoracic cage is small. The capacity of this thoracic cavity is less, and this superior thoracic aperture, it is more oblique in females. So these are some differences in case of thoracic cage. Now we'll see the examination of thorax, under which first we see the inspection. Now under inspection, what we are going to inspect, these are the respiratory movements. So inspection is for the respiratory movements. Now after inspection there is palpation. So what we have to palpate? We have to palpate for the apex beat. Now apex beat is present in the left fifth intercostal space. And from this sternal angle, how to count the ribs and intercostal spaces I told you. So go downwards, then count the left fifth intercostal space. Now for this palpation of apex beat, place your whole palm over the chest wall. Then as you feel the apex beat, then at that proper place you place your palm of the fingers in that space so that you can palpate the apex beat. So it is approximately 4 centimeters from the mid-sternal line. Okay. So approximately 4 inches, it is 4 inches from the mid-sternal line. So first you have to place your whole palm on the chest wall, and after feeling the pulsations, you can place your palm of the finger at that proper place. So the apex beat you can feel in the left fifth intercostal space. Again, nipple. Nipple, you have to see the position of the nipple. In males it is fixed, that is in the fourth intercostal space. In females, age wise it varies. Again, you have to palpate for the apices of the lungs. For that, you have to stay behind the subject. Then you go in the supraclavicular fossa. So place your fingers in the supraclavicular fossa and then ask the subject to breathe in and out forcefully. So first you have to stand behind the subject, then place your fingers in the supraclavicular fossa, ask the subject to breathe in and out forcefully so that you can palpate the apices of the lungs. So as far as the thorax is concerned, palpation of apex beat and palpation of the apices of lungs is important. Now what you have to look for this respiration, that means in the quiet breathing, which muscles will come into play or come into act? So in quiet breathing, intercostal muscles along with diaphragm, they act. In deep breathing and in expiration, the tone of abdominal muscle will work. So in case of expiration, tone of abdominal muscle will work. in forceful breathing and also in deep breathing. So there are three types of breathing: quiet breathing, deep breathing, and forceful breathing. So in case of deep and forceful breathing, the other muscles like scalenus, trapezius, pectoralis major minor, along with latissimus dorsi and abdominal muscle. These muscles will act during forceful breathing as well as during deep breathing. But during quiet breathing, only intercostal muscles with diaphragm will act and tone of abdominal muscle will work during expiration. So this is about the breathing and types of breathing. If we see behind, so this root of the spine, if we palpate to thoracic vertebrae, so the root of the spine, it lies at the level of T2 to, it is T3. So root of the spine, it lies at the level of T3, and this inferior angle of the scapula, it lies at the vertebral level of 7, T7. So again, by palpating this root of the spine, also inferior angle of the scapula, also it will help you to palpate the spines of the corresponding thoracic vertebrae. Again, there are some imaginary lines are there as far as this thorax is concerned. First is the mid-clavicular line or mid-clavicular plane. Second is axillary line. Similarly, posterior axillary line. Next is the mid-axillary line. First we see the mid-clavicular line. Now it passes from the midpoint of the clavicle vertically downwards up to the mid-inguinal point. So in its course, it crosses the tip of ninth costal cartilage. So mid-clavicular line, it passes from the midpoint of the clavicle, it goes vertically downwards up to the mid-inguinal point. Here it crosses the tip of ninth costal cartilage. Now the anterior axillary line. So it passes from the anterior axillary fold. So this line, it passes vertically downwards from the anterior axillary fold. Similarly, posterior axillary fold, it passes vertically downwards from the posterior axillary fold. Now what is the mid axillary line? So for that, you have to make a midpoint of this anterior and posterior axillary folds, and here from that midpoint it goes vertically downwards, that is the mid axillary line. So these are the imaginary lines which are present in the thorax, that is mid clavicular line, anterior axillary, posterior axillary line and mid axillary line. So in case of thorax, what is most important is the suprasternal notch, then is the sternal angle. So various events present here. Again, vertebral level of both. The xiphisternal joint is present at the 7th thoracic vertebra. Subcostal angle here. This is the subcostal angle. This is the costal margin, how it is formed by the union of 7 to 10 costal cartilages. Then how to palpate the ribs and intercostal spaces. Then Apex wind, how to palpate and where to palpate is the most important thing. I told you how to palpate and where to palpate. Okay. Again, palpation of the apices of the lungs. Here, in this thoracic cage, how the cage is formed anteriorly, posteriorly, laterally, aperture, both superior and inferior apertures, how they are formed and by which structure they are closed and which structure passes through or passes to this aperture. These are the most important things you should know about this. Sometimes there is maybe 12 rib. It is missing. So counting should be proper because we have seen this, that is paracentesis. For this purpose also you have to count the intercostal spaces. So what is paracentesis thoracis? That is drainage of the pleural fluid, that is pleural tapping. It is done in the which space? It is done in the 9th intercostal space in the posterior to the mid-axillary line, isn't it? So for that purpose also you have to count these spaces properly because in some subjects the 12th rib may be missing. So the counting of these spaces may go wrong. So this is all about this surface anatomy. बाकी कोई गाने लिखना messages के then unmute तो मैं अपने विचार शकतो त्याला काम पडलं का checking minutes तुम्ही आहे का आयडी नाही आपण आता त्यांना विचारू शकतो त्याची क्वेश्चन लास्ट 10 मिनिट्स मध्ये त्यांना अनम्यूट करू विचारू शकतो का बरोबर त्यांना क्वेश्चन घ्या लास्ट 10 मिनिट्स मध्ये त्यांना अनम्यूट करून आपण विचारू शकतो का त्यांची काय क्वेश्चन्स आहेत की काय चॅट मध्ये पाठवतील असं मी विचारू शकाल का सगळ्यांचं बोलणं ऐकलं आहे So, as far as you people are concerned, which things do you want to repeat, or each and everything is clear to you? Pardon? Epigastric fossa. So, this epigastric fossa is nothing but the infrasternal fossa, or you know the subcostal angle. There it is. It is anteriorly in between the two costal margin. There is the subcostal fossa. This subcostal angle it is, and the fossa here present is the infrasternal or subcostal fossa, also called as epigastric fossa. Anything else you want to repeat me? Repeat. You should by heart the events at this present at this terminal angle. Okay? Which is also called as angle of Lewis. Suprasternal. कौन से part? सुपीरियर थोरासिक एपर्चर से जो पार्ट्स जाते हैं या फिर आते हैं, it can be divided into two heads. First, in the median plane and other places. So, in the median plane, here you can tell about the trachea, esophagus, etc. And here, as you know about the first rib, so at the neck of the rib, the structures present from medial to lateral, also they are present over here only. So chain pulling a vein, that is sympathetic chain. Again, V for vein is the posterior intercostal vein, superior intercostal artery, and first thoracic nerve. So these structures, they also present or they enter or leave the aperture here. Again, these structures, vagus nerve, phrenic nerve, again left recurrent laryngeal nerve along the esophagus. And as far as laterally we concerned, there are apices of lungs which are covered by the cervical pleura. So these structures are from this lateral aspect. Again, on the right side there is brachiocephalic artery. In the neck it divides into two, that is right common carotid and right subclavian artery. So right brachiocephalic on the right side. On the left side it is left common carotid and left subclavian artery. Again, one event at this sternal angle is the thoracic duct. So it turns from right to left at this angle. So thoracic duct, it turns right to left at this level. Again, termination of azygous vein. So the azygous vein, it terminates in the superior vena cava at this level. So again, these are the two other events present at this sternal angle. So there are various events. 7 to 8 events are there. So you should by heart this. Again, inferior thoracic aperture में क्या बोलना है? तो major openings present in the diaphragm. So there are 3 major openings which are present 8, 10 and 12 thoracic vertebrae. So first is vena cava, second is esophageal, and third one is the aortic opening. Okay, vena cava opening is present in the central tendon of the diaphragm at the level of vertebra T8. Esophageal opening is present at the level T10, and aortic opening is present at the level T12, but it is posteriorly. So besides these major openings, again there are some minor openings through which the structures either enter the abdomen or leave the abdomen and enters into the thoracic cavity. Now this inferior aperture, as you know, it is closed by diaphragm. This means there are domes of the diaphragm present on either side, but the right dome is more above due to presence of a liver on the right side. So the convexities are present in the thoracic cavity. So domes, that means arch-like, but these convexities, they are present in the thoracic cavity, and the concavities, they are present in the abdominal cavity. As far as this thorax is concerned, this floor of the thorax is formed by this diaphragm. As you know, this is the cage means falls. Anterior formation you know, lateral formation and posterior formation you know. So floor of this thoracic cage or thoracic cavity is formed by this diaphragm, and roof is formed by roof of the thorax. I told you about this floor. Roof, so which forms the roof? Which structure forms the roof of it? Here will be the roof, no? As you know, both these apertures, they are in the living beings, they are closed. Superior aperture is closed by Simpson's fascia. The inferior, as you know, there is the presence of diaphragm. So whenever you told to palpate the apex pit, जैसा मैंने बताया वैसे ही palpate करना है by taking prior permission from that subject. Okay. Whenever you feel the pulsation of that any space, then you have to put your pulse of the finger at that particular space. In case of males, roughly speaking, it is below and just lateral to the or just medial to the nipple. In case of males, roughly, because in living beings there is no counting is possible, no. So roughly speaking, just below the nipple. You can be prepared from both in the living beings also in the mummified body. But as far as possible, we are taking surface anatomy up till now in the living beings. So you have to take prior permission from that subject and then you have to start your palpation and whatever things. So thorax में बस इतना है. अभी आप लोगों को कुछ पूछना है? ठीक है? All the things. So go and ask that department.
चलो डबल में चलो चलो यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है